We'll discuss the functions of the control panel for the bike. We have many different functions that we're able to do inside the console. We have 3 different resistance modes. If we just press start from the beginning as a quick start, the resistance mode we get is a constant resistance, which means the resistance level is set at a constant rate, and the power will be determined by how fast the patient pedals. So the faster they pedal, the more watts they would do. If we press constant power, we get a constant power mode of resistance where the resistance will adjust automatically based on how many watts we want the patient to be doing. So if we want them to do an average of 50 watts, we can do that. Here it asks if we want to use the auto brake or not. The auto brake is a function that when I stop pedaling, we automatically brake the crank pedals so they don't continue to move. So we'll keep that on. It's a safety concern. So now when I press start, I am now in a constant power mode where when I look at my power, I want it to be 50 watts. But if I'm well below the RPM I need to be, I'll have a high resistance. If I start to increase my pedal speed, the resistance will drop and will try to keep me at 50 watts. So the whole purpose of this program is to keep the user at a level of 50 watts. We can increase the watt levels during the program by pressing the up or down key. The other program we have is isokinetic, which is a speed-based program. So when we come in here, we can enter a target RPM. Let's go to 30, press that. Here on this program, we suggest to leave the auto brake off because if it's on, it could affect the program with an asymmetrical patient. So I'll leave that off. So now basically I am set to 30 RPM, so below 30 RPM, I'm at 28 or 29, I get no resistance. Once I hit that 30 RPM, that resistance starts to increase, and I can push against that resistance really hard and increase my power without overcoming the speed. So those are the 3 different modes of resistance. In the console, we also have a symmetry program. So when I press the symmetry program, we're going to be able to, again, the brake should be off in this program. We're going to be able to measure the patient's left versus right watts. And usually you have to have some resistance on the pedal. So now as I'm pedaling and I'm symmetrical, so I'm getting watts of left and right 20. So if I increase watts on one side, I'll be able to see that asymmetrical watt measurement, which is not easy to do when you're symmetrical. I am trying to do it, but basically what I would see is my left and right watts here, and I would get a graphical feedback that shows me which side is more powerful on the right or the left. Okay. In the setup, we were able to set up how many watts per row on our display, so I'm going to show how that works. So right now, the default was 10 watts per row. So right now I have 1 row of lights. If I come here and I press the display button, both of these light up, which indicates I am now on the power display. So this now indicates power. So now when I increase my resistance, the higher the watts goes. Right now I'm at 30, so I have 3. Now I'm higher, so it's 4 rows of lights. That's 40 watts. And you can sort of see on the scale there, it's showing 40. I'm at 60, which actually, it takes a little while to catch up to the power that I am putting out. So you have a visual feedback of the amount of power that you're pedaling at. We have VO2 test. It's the YMCA protocol submax VO2 test. A facility program allows you to build your own protocols and profiles and save them there. And then on the left side, we have a few exercise programs, a hill, a plateau and interval, and then a heart rate control program. So that is the basic functions for the bike from the console standpoint. The console setup patient information function that we have is in this setup. Here we can enter patient data, such as age, which age would affect part of the calorie formula, also the VO2 test. The gender also affects VO2 test. The weight will be entered for, again, calorie formula, and the height is used for our seat position function, and I'll show you that now. So I'm done setting up all the patient data. I'm going to go to, well, why don't we go to the seat position function. This function allows you to enter the patient information like we just did, the user's height, and then be able to enter the patient's minimum and maximum knee flexion. We have 6 settings for the knee flexion. We have right minimum, left minimum flexion. We have all the way up to left knee maximum, left knee minimum. So we'll do that one. If I enter, if your patient has a maximum flexion of 90 degrees, we can enter that, and then if their minimum flexion is about 10 degrees, we enter that. So this patient has a functional range of 80 degrees, and what we're able to do now is calculate what this patient's seat position should be based on the height we entered, and what the crank position should be based on the patient's range of motion. So the seat should be set at 10, which we could set, and then the left crank would be set to 9, right crank set to 9. So you go down and set the crank to position 9, and then that will allow the patient to go through 90 degrees to 10 degrees. 90 degrees here, 10 degrees here. Okay, so the next The next function we have would be the level scale. What this does allows you to customize when we are using the program, the resistance levels. Right now the default is 5 watts. So each time I press and increase the resistance level, it'll increase at 5 watts each time. And I can select 10 watts per level or 15 watts per level. So we'll leave it at 5 watts per level. The next function is watts per row. In here we set the default as 10 watts per row. We're talking about the rows of lights. So when we are in a program and we can see these rows of lights light up, we are allowed to select with both of these lights on. It'll show the power. So we'll be able to see the patient's power on the screen here. And right now it would be 10 watts for every row. You could set that all the way up to 50 watts a row, 100 watts per row, I believe, which is a little much, but you're allowed. So those are the basic setups for the patient and the different things that we're able to do in the console. Thank you.